Well, it's a conversation that we had several months ago here on the program, and we want to catch up and learn more about where things stand. We talked about a partnership between Corteva Agriscience and Bunge Chevron Ag Renewables looking at their winter canola program in the Mid-South of the U.S. Here to give us an update on things and talk about some of the yields we've been seeing and much more. He is Corteva Agriscience Global Product Director for Biofuels. Chad Bergerfer is with us here on the show today. Chad, it is good to talk with you again. Hope all is well.
All is well, actually. We just finished up with canola harvest this past year, so it was an extended harvest. Like in a lot of places down Mid-South, there was an extended planting season as well. Cooler temperatures, pretty wet down the area, but we were able to get through all the winter canola, and the growers had really good success overall, I would say.
Well, let's talk about some of that success and maybe some of the different yields you saw and more. As we know, and this kind of goes back to the original conversation. When you think of canola, you don't really think about the Mid-South region of the United States, but again, finding some really good success with this program, Chad.
Yeah, so over the past several years, right, we've been testing where winter canola would work the best, and the Mid-South is one of those, right? It's in the zones where it doesn't get too cold, where we get winter kill, but it's warm enough that we can progress a winter crop through pretty quickly, get it harvested toward that end of May, early June, and then plant that double crop into it. And then there's enough moisture along the way too to progress this. And so it's been really good to see. We've expanded the area as well. We were in northern Alabama all the way up to southern Illinois this year. Had some plots in Missouri as well. So yeah, we had a really good, breadth, if you will, of performance across the area. I would say overall, growers are really happy with it. If you took all the states we had and did a weighted average against all the farms, right, we were right in there in the mid 50s, 53, 54 bushels on an average. However, I would say there was a number of growers that finished up farm averages well over 60. Majority fell in that 50 range, I would say, 50 to 60. When you get real south, there was definitely some weather issues we had. Several hurricanes came through after planting, along with some winter damage. But I tell you what, I am still impressed when winter canola comes through some of this. And in most cases, you would think most crops would die. This thing continually comes along, very resistant and resilient. And so those even yielded extremely well in cases where we didn't know quite where we were going to end up just because of the environment we were in.
Well, and I know too, at the heart of this whole program, of course, that partnership with Bunge Chevron and providing farmers another revenue opportunity with another crop potentially here across the Mid-South. I mean, and talk about just that perspective a little bit for us, Chad.
Yeah, so as a grower, right, we think about one season, one crop, and in something like this, we're able to pull off another season. Now, some of that's done already with winter wheat. What's nice about winter canola, it brings some nice attributes to it as well. Usually, you're planting it earlier in that September timeframe. Winter wheat's a little bit later. We also tend to harvest earlier. Now, this year maybe wasn't quite the case because of the cooler temperatures, but we look at previous years. Yeah, we were probably 10 days ahead of winter wheat in some places. So it has some avenues there. And if you can harvest earlier that winter crop and get that secondary crop in, that only benefits that summer crop going in. Let's say it's double crop soybeans, right? We've seen yield increases because of following winter canola as opposed to following other winter crops.
Let's talk about program sign up. I know that deadline is rapidly approaching as we think about 2026. Can you give us some details on that, Chad?
Sure. Yeah, and we always have this condensed time frame, right? Because we have harvest occurring in that June time frame, and then we have a deadline to contract. The reason we have the deadline to contract is not that we're running out of acres or seed, but we have to at some point say we're done so we can make sure we get all the seed to those who want to participate in the program. So right now that deadline is August 8th, and so we're not too far away from that. We will allow some exceptions to a certain point after that, but we want to make sure we get all that seed to the growers as well. And What's nice too is we have 2 new hybrids coming out this year as well. So folks will be able to see another hybrid or two new to the area. These two have pod shatter tolerance to them, which meaning that as it gets drier or in weather events, right, sometimes that pod that forms around those seeds, right, will tend to break loose. It dries out, breaks loose, and we get the shattering effect. And there can be significant yield loss because of that. With these pod shatter resistant ones, it allows you then to probably work through harvest a little bit better than you would have, maybe desiccate a little bit earlier than you would have as well. So yeah, it's a big advantage, and we would tend to see yield improvements because of that, just because we're not losing as much seed through harvest. Those 2 new hybrids, PT314 is the first one that I would tend to highlight. And I think a lot of growers will like that one because it's earlier in maturity than the ones maybe they have seen up to this point. So we could be 5 to 7 days earlier in maturity. Again, be able to harvest earlier, put that double crop soybeans behind it. The other one is PT315. That's also pod shatter tolerance, a little bit later, I would say, in maturity. But again, it's shown really good performance overall for us.
I'm glad you mentioned those 2 new hybrids available for 2026 when we're talking winter canola. I'm sure, Chad, if folks have questions and they want to learn more about the program, again, I know that deadline's coming up real quick, but I'm sure they could go online. That's probably one of the best ways to start. How can folks get more information on winter canola through Pioneer?
Yeah, there's a number of ways. You can go to pioneer.com and look up the winter canola program. It will tell you there. It also will lead you over to Bunge as well. So part of this program, in order for us to provide seed, we need to have a contract in place. And so getting a hold of your Bunge representative to get that contract going and signed. Once that's done, we can talk about what seed products you want, make sure it gets delivered in time for you so you're planting here in that mid to late September timeframe.
Well, we do appreciate the conversation. And again, pioneer.com for more information. Corteva Agriscience Global Product Director for Biofuels, Chad Bergerfer. Chad, thanks for joining us for an update on the winter canola program. We'll look forward to getting more updates in the future. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.